Hey y'all, welcome back to Chasing Dreams Homestead.
Hi guys.
Mama Dreams, why are you so excited?
Because I got something today.
What are you getting? Tell them.
Bees!
Stay tuned, we're so excited. Bret and Stephanie are bringing us down some bees and we're going to show you everything they tell us about beekeeping. All right.
Really cool. It'll take a minute to get this going.
No problem, brother. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves too. And y'all, if you like the video, just know they'll be at Homesteaders Homecoming giving the class as well. This is the first time setting this hive up at the new property. You excited, woman?
I am.
You look like you were ready for class. You got your clipboard and everything.
He does. And take notes.
So this is an inner cover. We don't put it on when they're traveling because it's another way for them to get in and out of the top. So,
Okay.
So we'll stick it on once we get into them here.
Sounds good. You see them coming out, baby, checking out the area?
I do.
Yeah.
They happy bees. So a little history behind the bees. These would have came from a swarm that have lived in a local eatery and bar in the third store on the roof, essentially the third story of a historic building in downtown Seymour.
Oh, that's cool.
We've been involved with this swarm a couple of times. They've actually asked us to remove them, but where it sits 3 stories high is just going to be a little too much for me. So we just enjoy catching bees that have lived on their own. That's kind of what we strive to find, or bees that have been living in nature and on their own without human interaction. It's not that they're necessarily aggressive, as you can see. I mean, these bees just took an hour ride. They're in a new place, and they're not bothering us at all. So not to say when we pull the top off, it's not going to change just a little bit.
Yeah, they're hanging out.
Yeah.
I'll get the other side over here. Get a little better lighting. There it is. It's exciting. Look at all that activity around the opening.
Say that you're getting a heck of a deal on some bees. This is an extremely strong colony for what it is. It's got it's got over 7 frames built out. You know, typically when you purchase bees, you hear of a nuke, you know, and that's 5 frames. So the extra 2's on us. So
We appreciate
they're well
that.
grown, but you know, when we picked them out, I mean, we kind of talked about this when you guys wanted to do this.
Yeah.
When I went and picked them out, that's what I told Stephanie on the way here. When we're bringing somebody bees that I'm gonna miss, that's how we know we feel like we're giving good bees out. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
So usually what I'll do, I'll come in and I'll just give them a little smoke in the front. And as I told Chase, it's a screened bottom board. So the bottom has just hardware cloth in it. So it means they can smell it right through it. A lot of times what I'll do then is just play the wind and just let that kind of smoke towards the hive the whole time. You know, when I pull the top off, we may smoke them another time. We'll just see how they react.
I don't want to interrupt your speech on it, but what exactly does the smoke do for the bees?
So in nature, that's what you got to go. You know, everything's based on how they actually would live, and so to them, this smell is going to come from a forest fire.
Okay.
And so in a forest fire situation, they have to realize that, hey, we're not worried about anything other than we might have to relocate. So just like when a bee swarms, they start to consume resources in case they have to leave to make a new home. They say it calms them, but that's the relevance that I have with it is that that's why it calms them. It actually distracts them. It gives them another job. It's not that it scares them, that stinks or anything else. It just
makes sense. Makes sense.
The way it is.
Oh yeah,
so
buddy.
There you go.
Looky.
So this is I'm pulling the top cover off. Your top cover, that kind of becomes your workplace. Because if you have another box on here, the last thing you ever want to do is set it in the grass, because that queen, she may attach to a piece of grass, and you pull it up and you set your box back down, and now your queen's outside of the hive, and that's a catastrophe. So,
Man, I am so glad we are filming this, because I'd have totally forgot that by the time we go to add a box. Because you said not to add the next box till winter, right?
Well, and you never add another box until you have to.
Okay.
And what you need at least 80%. So this is 10 frames, so that's easy math. You need at least 8 frames. to me, it depends on the time of the year. The time of the year tells me you're not going to put another box on this year. Okay. Because and we'll go through it. So when you get into your hive, because I'm very familiar with this one, I know that this frame doesn't have much on it. I'll just give them just a little, but you see how they're just they kind of just send some of them down. So we'll pry it up here just a little bit.
That way, when he shows you.
No, there's not going to be anything on here, but a little bit of some bees and some work. Yeah. They're just working, building some comb, doing very little. The main thing you want to remember is that you have to put it back in the exact same way you take it out. That's why the easiest thing to do is just take one out and set it to the side, and then everything else you can pull out, and then you can just scoop. So we're doing nothing but the same thing. You can see them just now building comb, just barely the white. Yeah. So they're working. They're all working. But that's still an empty frame.
Okay.
Those little ladies are so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I've always been an aficionado of honey. Now we're gonna make our own honey.
Oh,
that's right.
And it always tastes best when it's yours. So okay, so
I see some white in that one. Yeah.
They've drawn out a lot more on this one.
Yeah, I see that.
So looking at this. What's this side? This side's not quite as much. I would maybe consider this a half a frame.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that's where I came up with 7, because I think we've got another half frame.
So showing y'all the difference here. You see no white on this one. On this one, you see a whole lot of white starting out.
All nectar filled.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen to that buzz. That's the sound of my ears.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, I love the sound.
If only people could work together such as bees do.
Ain't that the truth?
Teamwork.
Well, and this many women together in one group.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get a little education here. Come on, on the other side of me here, Kristen. I want you to, I want to get the sun in here and kind of look over my shoulder. If you can see.
I see a little dripping in there.
See the little round things in those?
Yes.
In those cells? So those are the larvae.
Okay.
And then I'm looking for eggs. Eggs are going to be obviously smaller. You see the larvae getting smaller up in here? Mm-hmm. And then right there's a sliver. And those slivers, here's a bunch of them. These are eggs. It's just a little sliver. You can hardly see it. And so he goes from eggs to your larva, and it starts to get bigger. As you can see, this is all honey, capped honey, up here at the top.
Okay.
And our next frame we're going to see a bunch of brood.
That's awesome.
And that's where the larva that you just saw, after 6 days, they cap it. And then that's where the bee is made. And the brood is very noticeable. And so this is, so the capped brood.
Oh yeah, I can see it capped off for sure.
Right, and you can see in there, you can still see some larvae within it.
It's awesome.
And so they'll cap that larva. Let me see. I doubt she's going to be on this frame because it's all, most of this is all.
Looking for the queen, y'all.
And sometimes, I mean, that's all brood underneath those bees.
It's like moral hunting. You got to have a trained eye, because I wouldn't know what to look for. I just see a bunch of bees.
Once she sticks out, it's... I told you, these are some sweet bees. These are some sweet bees.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a good pattern.
Oh, man. So what did you mean by that as a good pattern? Explain that.
So on this side, you see your capped brood.
Mm-hmm.
All of this, so it's your brood pattern really wants to go in, you want it to be a football shape. So that's how you know that the queen is laying really, really good.
Yeah, you
and
got
this whole
just
frame
tips of honey. Just tips of honey on each end, and the other side looks the exact same. See, I mean, this is just, this hive is just continuing to
do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
quick as they can make space for her to lay, she's
And
filling
you got
it
larvae
up.
in there too. You see the little white right
Yeah,
there?
I do. I see that little white in there. You see it, guys? Yeah.
I think the
That's
next
awesome.
frame or two we'll finally start to see some pollen. And there's going to be some pollen that you can't see here yet. And the pollen is really, that's the baby food.
Oh.
So in a strong hive though, you're going to have almost all brood this time of year, and you're going to have maybe your outside frames will have your resources, your honey, pollen, and nectar resources. Like I said, up in the corners, you'll always see a little bit of.
Are they literally just clinging to each other like ants do?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, on the bottom.
Yeah,
Yep.
just hanging there, yeah.
Yep.
We can see her.
She's got to be somewhere around here.
Yeah.
She's going to be usually a little more active. You see everybody else is, they're just like really calm and docile because they're doing something. And so she usually just kind of bebops around, walking around.
Yeah, I don't see her.
Keep everybody in check.
The queen bee.
That's what we're good for.
I'm looking for her. Hello, little bee.
Another great brood pattern. Just what's not, you know. You just got the tips of honey up there. And of course, we inspect this in late October. You're not going to see hardly any brood. You're going to see all that honey is just going to keep dropping down, and they'll fill it all with honey. They do have brood in the winter, but it's in small increments. Where are you? Well, one thing's for sure, when you go through an inspection, the things that you're looking for are the brood, the eggs. It's always great to see the queen, but we've seen evidence that she's either in here by those fresh eggs, or that if something just happened to her, that those fresh eggs, that they could turn into an emergency queen cell and make their own.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, you know, people, you do not have to see the queen to recognize that you've still got a healthy hive. Like a little, there's more capped honey on that side, isn't it?
Yeah. Right up at the top. See if you can see her over there. There's kind of a cluster on that one side.
Like I said, she should be. Yeah, we got fresh eggs.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
she'd be on that frame.
So here's, if you can look on the bottom, right through here is a great egg size.
Okay.
See the, almost look like little slivers of rice, and then you see they start to curl.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. If for some reason when you put this hive back together you squash the queen because accidents happen, you wouldn't even know it. The colony's in a great spot, and it could easily continue to regenerate a queen just with what is here. You see how they're all just piled up. I mean, they're just feeding each other nectar and standing in line waiting to. And that's all eggs right there. She may be on this side. Wow. Yeah.
What's that one upside down in the comb itself there? You see it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what's that about?
In there tending to the eggs.
Oh, okay. So she'll look identical to them. She'll just be more active.
She's a little bit longer. She's got a longer, oh gosh, my terminology just left me. Butt.
Abdomen.
And, yeah, abdomen, sorry. And her thorax, which is what's on top of their, behind their eyes, is a lot bigger and more distinct.
And once you see her, you'll know.
Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, yeah. I mean,
you'll know that it's her,
you're like,
because
"Hey, that looks
she,
a lot different."
yeah,
Right.
she looks distinctively different.
And if you want, we can go back through it again, and we can look if you want to try to get her on video.
It'd be pretty cool if we can find her. If not, that's okay too.
But,
I didn't know that they'll regenerate. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yep. And that's why I get apprehensive, and that's why we've gone down to single brood box management. We do still have some doubles, which that's, this is your brood box. A lot of people in beekeeping are just used to saying, well, once this gets full, put another brood box on. But the problem that you run into is that's a lot to keep, and it's a lot to get back into, and especially for beginners, I found. Once you put that second box on, sometimes it gets so intimidating, because now you've got a colony that's twice as big as this.
Right.
When they're having a bad day and you're in there, it becomes intimidating for a lot of people. So they don't even get into the bottom box. Also, I feel like sometimes, well, it's just an easier management. If you do the math on the number of cells that's available in this frame, she technically can't outlay the space. So the important thing is making sure that they understand that they still have a space to do a job. So that's why if you run single brood box management, it's most important that early in the year you're putting that other box, your honey super on, not another brood box, and then you drop a queen excluder on so she can't get up there. But it gives the bees a lot more work to do. A bee's a place to store honey, and so once you get that started, she'll continue that laying pattern on the bottom, and it's still a great way to keep from having your bees swarm. And again, it's easier to watch a single brood box swarming to keep it from swarming than two sometimes.
Right.
The swarming process, and like I said, this is where it's so vast. The swarming process actually starts in the fall. That's what much of the honey resources revolve around, is the fact that they're wanting to expand their colony next spring. That's nature for them. So they want to store back honey, so in the spring they're ready to go. They're a strong colony. And when she gets it full, they're going to be able to split. And
I got you. And when they split, does another queen emerge then?
Yes.
That's what I would think.
Usually, what happens, you'll see queen cells within the hive, and then the original queen will leave, and it will be a virgin queen that then takes over the hive. And they may do that 2 or 3 times, depending on the year, the nectar flow, and the quality of the hive. So,
awesome. That's awesome.
Let's go through here real quick. So do you want to, as I go back through with looking for the queen, do you want me to kind of tell you, or did you already explain and check everything off?
Yeah.
So we need to identify how many frames of nectar and brood. Okay.
So how many frames do we have? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, and we said that was a half. So this is technically 8 frames. And so
I thought you had a 10 frame hive there.
8 frames full.
Oh, 8 frames
I'm sorry.
full.
Yes. Okay. Because this one is certainly just a half a frame, and that other one is a half a frame. So we would say that would be, so there's 1 full frame of nectar, because we know there's a half there and a half there.
So then what I would do is just take
I like tally marks,
Yeah, put tally marks, and then you can put your total there over here. Okay.
And some people, it's only 1 hive. I'll remember this.
No.
And then you get the 2 hives, and guess what? Well, was it that one or that one?
Yeah,
and if you ever get beyond that, you're only kidding yourself. So this is going to be, this was a frame of.
So how many hives do you recommend folks like us that just want to raise it for our own honey and to pollinate things?
2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Now 2 to 4.
Okay.
I recommend 2 to 3 just to get started.
Okay.
Simply because bees, you're still going to have loss. So this is kind of cool. So just kind of showing how they're already starting to set up. So there's still eggs in here, but this is their backfilling. See how darker that is? How much darker that is?
Yep.
Same thing out here, and of course they've already capped the honey, so they're already preparing for fall, which is pretty cool. So when these eggs are born, they may keep some of it open, but a lot of it they're going to go start filling back with honey, because that's what they're doing here. They're drying it out. They're changing the color of the nectar, and getting ready to cap it. So when it's all said and done, you're going to have less than a frame of honey right now. But this time of year, with a new colony, you don't want any more than that. You don't want them putting back resources. You want them getting stronger. And let me see. So one thing that, and maybe it's just my breath, but one thing the bees usually don't like is breath. And when they're all watered up like that, I don't think the queen's in there. But if you blow on them a little bit, it sends them scrambling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping maybe she'll pop up. You could certainly work these bees today with nothing more than a veil. I mean,
And gloves.
yeah, I always still recommend gloves. I don't look to get stung, you know. They're obviously coming out. They're wanting to check me out. So
Yeah, they've landed on my glove a few times and haven't bumped me or anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty chill. Pretty
nice,
chill little
docile
bees, yeah.
show me.
I just want to see the big girl.
Like I said, if I was inspecting our own hives, it wouldn't bother me at all. As I would have got into the third frame, I would have felt comfortable that that everything's happening the way it should. And
So should I have that one too?
Yes.
so this one is another full frame of brooding.
So then you've got, mark your brood as well. Give you a tick mark for that.
So is it another?
Was that other frame full on your side of brood, babe?
Yep.
Okay.
Brooder eggs.
Okay.
And I really count them the same. I like to
same.
note always that, yeah, there were eggs. But I look at them the same because they've all got the same purpose.
So for those of you at home, Stephanie is walking through filling out the hive inspection checklist with Kristen, so she knows what to do. There's a lot of new terminology and a lot of things being thrown at her, so this is going to be helpful to have the video to go back and reference too.
And the more time you spend in it, just like everything else. Yep.
I really would love to see her. That way I can know what to look for too.
Mm-hmm.
So we would count that one as a
Full brood and eggs again. Yeah, now they're getting a little feisty around too. Got a couple of them coming out and hitting me. Where are you now? Oh no. Don't capture my singing, sorry, I forget you're filming.
Oh, you're fine, buddy. I do it all the time.
Well, edit, please. Radio, edit.
So it looks like they're starting to build out some comb on the bottom of that frame too.
Yeah, that's considered burr comb. Stephanie's a burr comb fiend. She loves wax, so
I do.
she always encourages a wax bucket.
I do.
So you clean that off then?
You can go to your big box store or whatever, get you just a clean plastic. You guys would start out with just a gallon bucket with a lid. And yes, you take your hive tool and just clean that off the bottom.
Okay.
Because these bees are treatment free, and I'm assuming you all will be as
Yes,
well.
yes.
That wax can be used to recoat your frames if need be. It can be used for cosmetics, so you can make lip balm out of it. You can use it for salves, and it's treatment free. So you know that there's no chemicals have been put on there, so you know what you're putting on your skin or putting back into the hive is nice and clean and safe.
Well, I'm glad
that
you
is
said
the
that.
most important part to me.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm kind of a wax fiend.
Yeah.
And
She
at
doesn't
the
like to see
Homesteaders
never go to
Homecoming,
waste.
we will have a few wax pucks for sale.
Okay.
But
Cool.
it's easy to render.
Yeah.
And when you guys get to that point, if you want me to come over and show you how to do that,
That would
it's
be
not a
awesome,
big
yeah.
deal.
And that's something that's, again, the more hives you have, obviously the more wax you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
You really start getting wax once you start pulling honey. We average about a pound or half a pound of wax for every 10 pounds of, or 10 frames of honey that we pull. We get about a half a pound of wax.
It's a good bit of wax.
Yeah. It is.
And that's just from the cappings. That's just what you're scraping off of your honey here. So,
yeah, that doesn't include your burr comb or anything that maybe they're going to build that you're going to scrape off and put in your little bucket to save.
So they don't need that burr comb. What is the point of them making it then?
It's just like queen cells. So, and I know I'm throwing a whole lot at you today, but if you ever get into your hive and you see a queen cell, some people say, well, smash it immediately. Well, the problem is if they've already got a queen cell started, what if you killed the queen the last time you were in there? And you just killed their last opportunity. And so I'm not going to say if you see a queen cell that as long as you see the queen, you can get rid of it, but they'll actually make practice cells. I mean, bees do just some odd things too, and that burr comb is one of them. Okay. They just build it for a number of reasons. But I'm really a stickler on queen cells. If we run into queen cells, I'm going to let my hive swarm because they know far more better, than what they know more about their colony than what I do.
Makes sense to me, brother.
It makes me nervous.
Nature's smarter than us. I got you.
Just to let them, if they're going to swarm, I keep swarm boxes. That's one of the reasons, kind of what I'm talking about at the homecoming is from a bee sustainable standpoint. Instead of continuing to just throw money into this hobby, figuring out how to do it. There she is.
You see her?
Economical. Oh, she's she's dark too. Okay, sorry.
He's dropping her, shaking her, everything. Where's she?
There.
I see her.
Oh yeah.
Look how dark she is.
Oh yeah. You're right, brother. She is a big one.
Wow.
That's
awesome. Why. Well, I was looking for a lighter body.
Yeah. Easy to see that girl.
Usually they're a more of an orange.
Yeah.
So yep, here she was.
And they are pissed now because they are bumping my hand.
Yeah.
So now you can mark down on your.
They said you found our big girl. It's time to get you back.
And we should have noticed it because this frame is just slammed full of eggs.
Yeah.
So this is where she was laying last. Of course, there's fresh eggs on that side too. Again, it's a phenomenal colony.
That's awesome, brother.
So,
on your brood, how many did you have in there? Let's see here.
So we've still got there was eggs again in that one.
So put 2 more chicks.
Guys, you don't have to bump me. He's over there.
And another funny thing about bees is facial recognition. So
Really?
they will
They'll get to know you.
recognize their
That's
beekeeper.
cool.
Oh.
Even through these veils.
Yes, they will
That's
recognize
cool.
their
Well,
beekeeper.
also what they're going to recognize is you working around here.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
And so bees don't go out to sting.
Right,
They go
yeah.
out to work. They go out to forage.
It's a one-off on
When
them.
they see you in the same spot, and we encourage feeding in their first year.
Okay.
And through their first year into the winter. I honestly don't know. I don't know if you want to feed these girls or not. I mean, they're really rock stars right now. I see an unlimited amount of clover, and Lord willing, we get some rain tomorrow. It's going to help kick off another nectar
There's a little,
source.
little water over there.
You got, so.
We got 2 troughs up here too.
Perfect.
Yeah, so.
So they've got access to water, so that's great.
So when you put the hive back together then, main thing is making sure all of your frames are tight together. Okay. And so sometimes to kind of help that so we can see. You see how there's a little gap right there?
Right.
They will make up that gap and it won't make you happy. They'll start messing with the comb, and you want them to build the comb as perfect as they can because then you're getting the most out of your hive. They start building wonky comb or you have some issues, then you're just losing space, and that's more apt to make them swarm. So then I try to do the same thing. What I usually do is I'll kind of stick my thumb in here and bring them tight because I want them about the same distance off the side. And again, that just kind of helps with pests, making sure they're tight
That makes
together.
it easy, yeah.
And it's good to go.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. So what they're foraging on, you have a great little garden going on. I suggest, I haven't looked to see what you have planted yet, but I see some rosemary, or is that lavender.
Yep, rosemary, lavender,
Rosemary.
a couple perennials put in here,
We
yeah.
got a lot of,
Yep, one little basil plant. We're going to get some more because basil comes out to that big flower bush for them, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And
so they
basil's
love to
medicinal.
feed on herbs.
okay.
They
Sweet.
love their herbs. And just like herbs are medicinal for us, they're medicinal for the bees as well.
Oh.
So them feeding on their herbs actually helps them fight off pests.
Okay.
So what Bret was saying about your frames, those little extra spaces on each end, if anything gets in there, they're able to fight off those pests.
I got you.
Because medicinally, they feasted on all the pollen, they've collected the nectar, but the herbs, just like they're medicine for us, they're medicine for a lot of things that God has created. And I find that absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Is, you know, oregano for us, and bees love oregano as well. Oregano for us can be used as an antibiotic. I don't know that there's been a study done, but is it an antibiotic for bees as well?
Antiseptic. I mean, honey is, you know,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
some of this stuff just gels so well, you know?
It's just awesome.
Yeah.
So,
And that's what I was going to ask you when you mentioned about no treatments and whatnot. Yeah, we're not going to use anything like that, but what do we do to combat mites? Because I've heard that's a big issue.
So one thing that you will learn about honeybees, and this is the simplest terminology or explanation that I can use. When we got into beekeeping and you learn from people and you listen, the one question would always come up is why did my bees die? And so when I listen to experts and people who have been doing this for decades, they'd say, well, the first question was always, well, what's your mite treatment? And you go through every step, and people would say that they gave exactly, word for word, what they should have done, textbook, by whomever, because there's a lot of different ideas. And,
Right.
and that has evolved as well. I mean, what the miticides that they used to use, they found were maybe killing more bees than they were mites. So it's been an experiment all along anyway. But ultimately, if you did everything right with your mite situation, your mite treatments, then everybody would just, well, why did your bees die? Well, sometimes they just die. So you can give all, I mean, and don't get me wrong, mites do, they're a real thing. They affect colonies. They do spread diseases. But ultimately, I believe that nature, again, is far smarter than me, and we believe in generational evolution. And so every generation that these bees deal with the mites, they figure out how to work it.
I got you.
And there's been some amazing studies done. Dr. Thomas Seeley at Cornell University has been a huge person in some of this. And he's not necessarily treatment-free, but he's provided a lot of information as far as swarming and how bees have evolved in certain areas. And so that's what we push for. That's why when I say if my hive is going to swarm, we're going to let it swarm, because that's bringing a new queen. That's another generation. So we're just helping. So you can, you know, if you beekeep for 20 years and you allowed a hive to re-queen every single year, you have helped out with that evolution.
I got you.
More so than trying to keep a queen, you know, alive for 4 or 5 years. So there's, mites are still a thing. People do whatever they want to do with them. You know, we believe if you provide a solid environment, you're going to be able to keep bees for quite some time. You're going to lose bees at some time, at some point, for some reason. And so that's why I look at it from to be sustainable, you have to look into next year, and that you're already wanting to replace this colony in case something happens. And in Indiana, we've seen, especially southern Indiana, we catch more bees than we need every year. We stop putting boxes up because we don't need any more bees. There's more bees that are living in some of the trees throughout these hills than you could ever imagine. And so when you set a swarm trap out here next year, which is what I'll encourage, of course, my guess is you won't catch your own bees, because I can tell from the habitat that we drove through out here, there's wild bees living. So if we want the swarms from wild bees, and that's what we like to introduce into our apiary and our farm, and to continue to spend time with them. We don't split bees until we have multiple years of them being able to show that they are healthy colonies, and they are thriving with mites.
Without mites.
Well, you're going to thrive with mites, because mites
Well,
are still
gotcha.
going to be,
Right.
You're never going to get rid of them. It's learning how to not just survive, but thrive with them. And so And some colonies get it done. I mean, it's just, and fortunately, there's been enough people. 10 years ago, this conversation, there'd be people here that are ready to punch me in the mouth for talking about this. And it's just people were passionate about it. But we have to look at the history of the mite treatments and what all has transpired and what have bees done on their own. And that's what we're more focused on. And so we get into catch, we don't set up swarm traps outside of somebody's bee yard. We set up swarm traps where I know there's bees living in a tree or where they're living in a house and things like that. So that's really what we shoot for.
Or on our own property.
Right.
Yeah.
And people will say that, this is livestock. And
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that, Chase. The more you work these bees, the more you pay attention to them. It's true. I mean, you will get more out of them. You'll get more satisfaction too, but you'll be more in tune and you will get more honey. There's things that you can do, but just like any other livestock, you're very familiar with pigs. If you let one of your pigs go back there, it won't take long. That pig becomes feral again. And if that pig becomes pregnant, those babies are 100% feral.
Yep.
So even though you can consider much of the livestock that we have, if you allow it to go feral, I mean, house cats, dogs, it's all the same thing. So bees, we believe the same thing. So, I would consider these a feral colony of bees. I mean, we've worked with them a little bit this year, but you see they're not necessarily any more aggressive. Again, they got mad the second time we went through.
Right,
but,
yeah.
That first time through the hive, again, you could have sat here with just a veil and a pair of gloves and shorts, and you would have been fine. So
right.
And honestly, I probably could have went through this whole thing in a pair of shorts.
Now, speaking on that, how often should we check the hive?
That's up to you. Sometimes curiosity gets the best, but as I mentioned, so when you're putting the frames back together, the only thing that I kind of, it always scares me is, did the queen get in there just as you were closing it up? So the more you get into the hive, you always risk, every time you get into a hive, you're killing bees, but you're also helping preserve them because you're staying in touch. The best thing I could say, especially for a new beekeeper, is to check it every 2 to 3 weeks. You could feed these if you wanted, but I just...
And what's the ratio on that for the sugar water?
I'll send that to you because there's 3 different ways. 1-to-1 is more for your winter stores. It's going to be a thicker, closer to honey.
Okay.
2-to-1 then, of course, is thinner, and so you're going to have more nectar.
Right.
And so if it's really thin, it takes a lot of work to make that into honey, but it's great for building wax. Some people even recommend like a 1.5-to-1. So they feel like, well, it gives them a little more energy boost to build more wax. I've played around with the 1.5 quite a bit too, and you kind of get mixed results within the hive. Some hives just they'll go ahead and store it more. They don't necessarily want to build comb. And that would be the only reason possibly. You saw how white some of that comb was. So that's new wax. And so the fact that they're still really building wax, if you wanted to get an entrance feeder to get them to fill out the rest of those frames, they would do it pretty quick, to be honest. And I'm not going to say it's a bad idea. I'm just saying it's probably not needed. But if you wanted to go ahead and fill out those frames, they're going to do it pretty quick. I mean, every every frame at this point has wax on it. So.
Now, are they like other livestock in the aspect of if you feed them, they're not going to want to work? They're going to be lazy.
So that's one thing. That's why I said from the beginning.
Yeah, you don't feed your goats till the evening if you want them to clear brush during the day,
Well, same thing with guys with bird dogs and whatnot. You never feed your dog before you go hunting.
Right.
You only feed them after you get back, and so. That is one of the reasons why we don't feed bees after their first year, is that exact reason. Number one, we want pure honey, and that's the most important part. So the bees that we feed aren't at the same farm. We have bees at 4 different places.
Oh, okay.
So the bees at our farm, no bees at our farm that we're getting honey are getting fed. Our house in town is where we have it kind of, basically it's like our baby field, and it's our really small swarms, and they all need fed, or small colonies. But that's kind of the way we look at it. We want bees that, again, survive on their own. We want them going out, getting stuff, not turning sugar water into honey. because we're not in the honey business. Yeah, we sell honey, but that's not, you know, our intent with our honey is that it's medicinal, it's pure, it's good. And so the best way to get that is to make sure, number one, you're not feeding your bees, because why? They're going to go to that close source, you know, before they're going to fly half a mile away. And so, so yeah, we think it does discourage, you know, feeding
makes perfect sense.
Forage the same. And so, so again,
and like you said, it you know, I mean, when you feed your bees, your honey isn't necessarily medicinal because they're not collecting nectar from the ground. They're not collecting that.
They're getting it from a processed sugar.
You know, people do different things. Some people are wax builders. You know, wax builders, they feed their bees all the time.
Because that's all they want to do is harvest wax.
They're not harvesting honey. They're just they just want the wax. And and to build wax, you about have to feed. So again, it just depends on what you want to do, and that's. Anytime we introduce people into it, that's what we encourage. I mean, you want to keep bees, right? That's where you are with this, and sometimes that's the only agenda you have to have. Sometimes is that you just want to keep bees. As you start to mess with them and evolve with it, and realize that this honey's really good. My neighbor says it's really good, and they want more. Well, maybe we'll get a couple other hives, or you may find, you know, a passion with wax, or it stays around having a couple of hives around just to pollinate. Everybody has different things that they want to do with them. And that's probably one of the greatest things about beekeeping is there's a lot of different avenues. There's a lot of different people across the world that appreciate and enjoy them, and for good reason.
Absolutely.
They're, in my opinion, the coolest bug there is.
That's right.
And so I don't know if you're seeing this, but so this is what I was talking about. So that was a bee that got killed, and that, you know, during this inspection that they've pulled out already. So,
oh, they pull out.
Yeah, they keep their hive clean.
I got you.
So
nice.
So yeah,
man.
So the top cover, summertime, like I said, there's a notch here. Summertime, I always put it down. That way they've got another entrance they can come in and out of.
Okay.
In the winter, though, we like to flip it up because then they can guard this entrance, and then they can guard that entrance.
Makes sense.
So small colonies as well. My really small colonies also keep up like that again, because I'm not worried about how they got plenty of room to get in and out of. It's more about protection. So when you put it back on, there's a good chance you're going to kill bees. That's why smoke is still handy. You can slide it and kind of push them in, but I just try to get as many out of the way as possible.
And if you've got a clump, it's no big deal to move them with your hand.
Okay.
I actually do that a lot. He's really good about using the cover to do it, but
there it is.
Awesome. Now that lid there, we need to put a brick or something on it, right?
No.
To keep this anchored?
People do that.
I was just wondering.
How heavy is that? You see people put
a block or
a
something.
pound and a half brick on top of that.
Yeah.
A pound and a half is not going to matter to that.
Okay.
That's one reason we really love these particular hives. I believe that's the best top cover that there is. It's got the weight that is needed. It's put together phenomenally. And so no, we don't.
Cool.
We have some friends that we got that they were concerned with wind. They're on
that's what I was asking.
A lot of wind, and
we get crazy wind.
Down and, but to be honest, these bees are gonna, and you'll figure it out. They make, they'll propolize all around it. So when you get on here, when you get in here, okay. Before I do this, remember this gap, right? Well, there's a little bit of extra space and play in here. So when I put this back on,
shove it forward,
and I'd stick my hive tool in here and just make sure
makes sense
where it should be.
Easy peasy.
So you see how it's kind of got a little point right there.
Run
so
off.
Once they start to get this, when you get into this and they start to get their propolis and glue it all together, if you stick your hand right here and kind of pull on your corners just a little bit to break it loose.
Okay.
From there, the hive tool will do everything else.
Awesome.
So,
man, we sure appreciate it.
Oh, it's exciting. We're so excited for you.
Yeah.
It'll change your life, I'm telling you. I mean, it's just, there's something about it. You guys are certainly familiar with a variety of different wildlife and nature and livestock.
This is a new adventure,
all
though.
together different,
Yeah.
right? And from a, you know, someone that's a business owner, I can tell you, so these are the best employees I've ever had. I mean, not that they're bad, you know, but well, yeah.
I got you.
They're great. They fend for themselves. You give them a little bit of care, pay them a little bit of attention, give them a good home. They're going to take care of you.
Sounds awesome, man. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Definitely look forward to seeing you all next weekend too.
Oh yeah. That class is going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. You guys got a great lineup, and it's going to be a full weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Make sure to hit that like button if you like what we're doing.
And subscribe!
And check out our Facebook group.
That's right, y'all. As always, till next time.
Keep